Hi guys, out at the Berg Airfield. I basically spent the whole morning doing product photos for a customer for his website, a website I also built for them, and that meant that I couldn't get out early this morning to take some nice soft light photos. And normally I would have just left it until later this evening, like nice sunset photos out in Berg. But coming out of the meeting, driving out of the meeting, I saw some really nice clouds building, and although it's midday sun, I'll try to get a nice photo of the clouds. Luckily, I decided to drive out to the Berg Airfield. It's nice and open, so to get nice views of clouds, it's a good place. And they've got a crop duster. Actually, looks like they're busy washing and preparing it, so that might make for a nice picture. I would have preferred taking the photo the other way. It's just more open that way, but in this case there's just one cloud formation and it's directly into the sun. So let's see how that goes. I'm using my old small D3200. I basically love this little camera. It's walking around taking photos, it's less intimidating for people. It's small, it doesn't look like a big professional camera, but still the quality is amazing. Pairing it with a manual 50mm lens makes it a really small package. So I love this lens, it's really crisp and sharp. Although it's manual, I don't mind. For the sort of work that I do, it's quite nice. Yeah, I've got a couple of other lenses as well, wide angle zooms, but today I'm just going to stick with this one. It's my latest acquisition when it comes to lenses, so I try to take a month or two on a new lens and try to exclusively shoot with that lens only to get to know it, and then go back and change lenses again after that. So let's see. Midday sun, so not ideal, but beautiful clouds and a beautiful plane. Let's see how this goes. Trying to get a nice frame for this shot. Getting some elements, foreground, middle ground and background, that are all interesting. I've got a tree here that can sort of frame the plane on this side. I've got a nice dirt road here. I've got green grass there, so the plane, that would be middle ground, this would be foreground, and that nice cloud formation in the background, that will make for a nice background. Done shooting. I used my Nikon D3200. It's an older entry-level DSLR, so it's 24 megapixels. It's more than enough for anything that I need to do. Not so many years ago, the top-end cameras were less than that, so I like it because it's very compact, very small, very light. It's easy to carry with, to take on running adventures, paddling adventures, things like that. It nicely fits into a backpack or a small waterproof case, and I can take it anywhere. So I'm back home. I'm going to start editing this photo I took. As I said, it was midday, so it's not ideal. The light's not really that good. Midday photos make for a bit of harsher light, but the cloud formation was perfect. That crop duster plane was in the perfect spot, so I just had to take a photo. Okay guys, I quickly want to show you what I do when I edit a photo like this. Just a quick recap. Took this photo with the manual 50mm lens that I really like. As you can see, it's nice and crisp. This is raw, so especially for landscapes I prefer using raw for the photo format. That just gives me a lot more maneuvering room when I'm editing the photos. I'm going to be editing this in Affinity Photo, which I prefer to the Adobe products like Lightroom or Photoshop. It's just personal preference. You could do whatever I'm doing in this edit with the Adobe products as well. It's not an issue. So as I said, I prefer raw because there's just a lot more dynamic range. So from the lightest parts of these clouds to the darkest part of this aircraft hangar, there's more detail in a raw photo. When doing JPEG, your dynamic range is smaller, so you might have to then expose one for the clouds, take one photo where the clouds are perfect, then another photo where this midground and foreground is perfect, and mix the two to get a good photo. As I said, I prefer RAW because I could do it all in one single shot. Okay, when I took this photo, I wanted some foreground here. I've got a nice little frame coming in with this tree. I walked around a bit to get the angle correct to get the photo I wanted. So I've got this tree on the foreground. I've got this nice orangey brown roadway here. I've got nice green grass. I've got blue sky. I've got the cloud that I really wanted. That's basically the reason I actually drove out to the airfields, because I saw this cloud coming out of a meeting this morning. I saw this cloud. It was midday, not the ideal time to shoot, but I couldn't not go out and get a photo of this cloud formation. It's really, really nice clouds. So yeah, not ideal to shoot in midday light. For landscape, not a big issue. F14, so let's have a look at the XF. F14, that means everything from the foreground to the clouds, everything will be in focus. In midday sun, that's easy to do. ISO 100, so no noise. Also, because it was midday sun, I wanted to keep the ISO as low as possible. And then shutter speed was 125th of a second. What I generally tend to do is not too much when I process the raw image, and I do most of my processing in the normal photo editing persona and not the develop persona inside of Affinity. So this is a really flat image, very neutral, so it's not very vibrant and doesn't have contrast, and it's not sharpened. So I can see on the histogram I might want to just move it up a little bit, but also I'll check that I don't lose any of the highlights when I move the exposure, move this curve a little bit to the brighter side. Okay, I'm going to speed up some of these edits, otherwise the video gets too long. But I hope it's interesting, and if you've got any questions, just comment or ask. One little tip as well, I use the scope often because in the histogram sometimes you get clipping on the bright side, and it's not easy to tell when it starts clipping sometimes. On the scope, because I'm used to video editing as well, I can get a better idea of what's happening and where the highlights are and where the bulk of my photo is going to end up. So I've also switched all these buttons on so I can see when my highlights, my tones and my shadows will start clipping. So you can see that I'm clipping highlights right now, around about there, it's all good. So contrast I'll add back in later. Clarity or sharpening I'll add back in where I need it later. Now don't go and copy my settings that I'm using. I'm actually looking at the photo while making adjustments. So the actual values, the percentages that I use won't be applicable to your photo, but the concept will most probably be valid. I'm going to edit a couple of things out of the photo because they are detracting to what I want to do a little bit, I think. I also try to edit non-destructively so that I can go back. If I'm not happy with any edits, I can just roll back very easily. I'm going to attempt removing these guys. I think they're not really adding to the photo, although I'm glad they washed the plane for me. I'm going to go ahead and do some color grading, add some sharpening, get some contrast back into the photo, and also do some split toning, and then you'll see the difference. I might also, depending on how the edit goes, I might also have to separate the sky and the clouds, do some edits that will only apply on that. So I might separate that out into a different layer with a mask, and then apply some edits only to the foreground and middle ground, some edits only to the sky and clouds, to make sure that it all looks good. Because something like clouds, I might want a lot more contrast and detail to really get these clouds to pop. I might not want all that same contrast in the foreground and midground. So I'll just speed up and you can have a look at what I'm doing. One photo edited. If you like videos like this, please subscribe to the channel and I'll do more for you. Okay guys, I finished editing. I hope you like the photo. I'll put a link below to the actual post on Instagram, on my Instagram account. Please follow me if you like the photo. Also, if you want to see more of these behind the scenes photos or videos of me taking photos and how I edit them, what equipment I use, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thanks, and see you in the next one.